Joining me now from the White House, Director of Strategic Communications, Alyssa Farah. Hi, Alyssa. How are you?
Great to be with you. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Where do we begin? What a wild weekend it has been as big tech and social media continue to censor Americans, censor your co-worker, Ms. McEnany, censor anyone who dares post anything about the all-wonderful Bidens. I got to imagine the president is furious. I've watched his speeches this weekend. He's hit them a little bit here or there, but man, tell us how the president is feeling when we see facts out there that there is corruption on Mr. Biden's part. There is a potential national security risk if he were to become president, and his hands are kind of tied right now. I mean, what are we doing to investigate this more at the highest level and possibly bring charges?
Yeah, absolutely. The president's not going to stand for both this big tech censorship, but also the mainstream media's refusal to cover one of the most important stories of the moment, the Biden-China pay-for-play scandal. So the president's talked at great length about his concerns over big tech censorship. You mentioned it, Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary's account being censored. Other officials for simply sharing a news article by one of the oldest and most respected publications in American life, the New York Post, that's done important reporting on this. I know OAN has also done reporting matching that, as well as Fox News. But a lot of the mainstream media refuses to even touch this story, refuses to even try to corroborate and confirm it. It's gravely concerning. It seems that you have big tech and the mainstream media trying to put their hand on the scale of this election against President Trump, and we're not going to stand for it. And I think the American people see through it.
And Alyssa, I heard yesterday, and there's been more chatter today about possibly Biden campaign connections to some of these big tech CEOs. What are you guys learning? If anything, can you tell us on where those connections are being made? I know the investigations are happening, but where do we see those connections? Is it someone in the Biden family or the campaign with these tech giants who've made donations? Where's the connection?
So this is all being looked at. For example, one of Senator Kamala Harris's most senior staffers left to go work at Twitter. You've got Biden former staffers who have gone to some of these big tech firms as well. And also, I would encourage your viewers to look at the flow of campaign dollars from big tech and some of their senior most officials to the Democratic Party. It's no question that these entities are squarely behind the Democrats. But what's scary is that they're actually stifling information from the American people. That should concern everyone, that we cannot even link to an article that's sharing facts that other outlets are welcome to fact check or to try to confirm themselves, but that they're trying to make the decision about what the American people should and shouldn't see is very scary, and it's just fundamentally anti-American.
Yeah, it infuriates the hell out of me to see this being in this game for the last 20-some years, where I have watched for the past 4 years, like you, like the president, every Tom, Dick, and Harry come out and post a story on social media about the president, true or false, most of them false. Nobody blocks those accounts. Nobody pulls them down. And as you said, a paper of record for decades comes out with an article, which has now been backed up, by the way, by people that were on those email chains. It has been... I don't know what else proof they need, and yet they continue to block it. Is the White House working with the Senate? I know that they're talking about hearings this week, right? They're going to get Jack from Twitter in front of them and hold his feet to the fire. So is the White House putting pressure on those Republican senators?
Absolutely. We've been encouraging the Senate to hold these companies accountable. The president's obviously before looked at Section 230. And, if that's something that we need to move forward on, it's something we're definitely open to. You cannot have these big tech monopolies stifling free speech and tipping the scale of the election, especially at such a critical time. And I would just raise, you mentioned all the unfair, inaccurate reporting on President Trump that has persisted for now years since he's been in office. That's gone unchecked. BuzzFeed, publishing this widely discredited dossier with little criticism. And then you have The Atlantic that ran with a piece that was denounced by 25 on-the-record sources saying the president's never denigrated our troops, and they've never been held accountable. They've never had their stories censored. And in fact, the Democrat candidate for president echoes those untrue stories against the president.
Right. Oh, don't get me started. We can go to the loser sucker one. We can go to the very fine people. All the nonsense they continue to spew out there for the last 4 years with no proof, no evidence. in reverse. There is proof and evidence to prove that the president didn't make those comments. All right, there's other stuff going on, Alyssa, so we got to cover it as well. I want to talk about the SCOTUS hearing because obviously with the Biden scandal, that's kind of put everything on the back burner. It looks like everything's going okay, smoothly in the Senate. Judge Amy's going to get confirmed, right? There's going to be no last-second hiccups or bumps in the road?
We're very confident that Judge Amy Coney Barrett will be confirmed. She's highly qualified, skilled, did an exceptional job during her confirmation hearings on the Senate Judiciary Committee. We're fairly confident the votes are there. I never want to get ahead of what could happen. We saw, what the Democrats were willing to pull with Justice Kavanaugh, so we're not going to assume that it's done until it's done. But what the American people saw was an exceptionally qualified jurist, made in the model of a Judge Scalia, and we think that she's going to get through. She has the full support of the White House. And even, Senator Dianne Feinstein, someone who's as left as they come, spoke to the fact that she seemed highly prepared and qualified for the position. It's really impossible to try to poke holes in her credibility and her experience for this role.
How about the hate that that senator took for giving Lindsey a Graham a hug? Wow. You can't even be civil anymore.
That's the state of our politics. You can't be civil, apparently.
They've known each other for decades, and they end the hearings, nice little hug and pat on the back, and now she's the devil to some on the left. Yeah, don't butter up to Lindsey Graham. Crazy. Just insane that you can't even be civil anymore in D.C. All right, so we touched on that. Another big one I got to ask you about is voter fraud. I loved how when the president was asked if he'll leave peacefully by Miss Neutral, not moderator, Savannah Guthrie, they're now changing their tone on the lamestream media. Instead of saying voter fraud doesn't exist, they're now prefacing the question to the president by saying it barely or only a few counts, only a couple cases of it occurring. So they know it's happening. They just don't want to cover it. What is the White House doing and working in conjunction with Congress to make sure that this thing is not stolen? Because every week there's another report about thrown out ballots, lost ballots, ballots sent to dead people, ballot harvesting in Minnesota. It's every other day.
Absolutely. This is one of the top concerns of the president's. We've seen more and more cases across the country of voter fraud, of ballots suddenly ending up in the trash. The Department of Justice is on high alert about this. They're prepared to investigate any cases that we may see. And then I would say at the state and local level, we've been partnering with governors, with state secretaries of state to make sure they have the resources that they need to be able to carry out elections and make sure that ballots are ultimately accurately counted. And on top of that, I think the political parties are also gearing up for any sort of issues that may arise. So, the RNC is taking into account having people in state to make sure that they're monitoring the polls, that votes are getting counted. But it is concerning, and it's just another story that the mainstream media shies away from covering, which is that we are seeing rampant voter fraud, and it's absolutely an issue we have to address.
Yeah, I absolutely hate, it disgusts me how they downplay this. I don't care if it's one vote, 100, 1,000 votes. Every vote should count, and it should be legitimate and legal. Final question for you, Alyssa. I'm sure you're busy, but I got to ask, debate's coming up. The final one we're going to get. We heard reports this morning that the debate commission now may want to change the rules in their meeting today to talk about that. The president's feelings on if they decide to change some rules.
Listen, the president's very frustrated with the debate commission. I think looking forward, we may not want to work through them, but we realize having this debate on Thursday is extremely important. We need to show the American people, President Trump, his strength, his accomplishments, and what he's going to do for the country going forward, juxtaposed against Joe Biden, who's now going to be down for the next 4 days until the debate, who just doesn't seem to have the energy or the policy know-how to be able to lead this country in such a critical time. We've got to get them on stage together. So even if the format's not ideal and the debate commission is trying to stack the odds against the president, we're confident he's going to win, he's going to do well, and he's going to make his case to the American people.
Well, and we wish him the best because we know we have another biased moderator. It's like one after another after another. I was reading just a second ago about Miss Welker's background and her connections and her husband's connection all to the Democrat Party. So he's going to be up against it Thursday again. I just hope that she will, I know the president will, hold Mr. Biden's feet to the flames and ask about this hard drive and all this connection to China, Ukraine, and Russia. Alyssa, Farah, thank you so much for joining us from the White House today. We really appreciate it. Get back to work.
Thanks so much.
Have a good day. All right, don't go away, folks. Straight ahead, more politicians on the left are playing doctor now and putting people's lives at risk by trying to cast doubt on a coronavirus vaccine if it comes during the Trump administration. Ridiculous. Join us after the break. An ER doctor is going to put those claims to rest. Don't go away.